This week, a hot new bombshell enters the villa.
I'm Shania. I'm a content creator and a manic money spender.
I'm Valerie. I'm a serial entrepreneur and recovering perfectionist. We're here to bring you life and wellness tips, tricks, and hacks from experts
and our personal experiences.
This is the Hot Girls Cry podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Hot Girls Cry podcast.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
We are excited for today's episode. It's a juicy one because we're talking about friendship red flags because we have all seen them. We've all had them. Yeah. And we're just going to share ours. But first, gratitudes. What are you grateful for today?
I am grateful for change. I feel like I'm in a change era, a lot of shifting in my life, and I think it's all for the best. And even if it doesn't feel that way at first, I know it's going to work out that way. So, yeah, I'm just grateful for change. And as a Scorpio, I just love change in general. I love the feeling of a new start and things like moving around and all of that. It gets my adrenaline pumping, So, yeah, I'm grateful for change. What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for things kind of coming together. I feel like I've been going through like a really stressful period with work, and I think the old me would have been really anxious and stressed, and I feel like after a lot of therapy and just a lot of growth, I've kind of come to terms with like, it'll just work out, and I let it, be what it was, and it did all work out, and so I'm just grateful that it worked out, but also just grateful for this new peace that I have, because it used to be real chaotic up in here.
No, that's so true. That you have, whenever shit hits the fan, it's going to all level back out and everything's going to be fine. So, yeah.
And now I know that. I feel like I used to be like, what do I need to do immediately to fix it? And now I'm like able to accept like, okay, like it's going to be fine. Yeah. We've been in worse places before and we'll get through it and it will be what it is.
Yeah, and things are always going to have a point to where they hit the fan. And it just gives you room to grow, because I feel like when you are at a low point, it always ends up getting better than it even was before that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then I always learn how to deal with it. And like that's why I feel like I handle things so much better now, is like it's all situations we've been in and I've learned from them. And so now it's like, okay, well, I know that this will be fine and I just need to deal with it. And like that just comes with running a business, because a lot of it has just been work shit.
Yeah. I'm proud of you.
Thanks. Growth.
Hashtag growth. Love that.
So let's dive in to our friendship red flags.
Oh, this is such a good topic because everyone goes through the process of making friends. And one of my things is that I always feel like is I feel like I started meeting really weird ass bitches after high school. Like high school, no one I met was, of course I met people who moved a little funny, but I feel like whenever you're in a high school setting, you can really assess people and like, people through other people. So you can kind of like sit back and look at other people and see how they are and then decide if you want to partake. But in adulthood, it's a little differently because people are just randomly popping into your life.
Yeah, like they're coming from any sort of background, any sort of family life. Like with high school, I feel like we have a general idea.
Yes.
And like even
of
with
what a
childhood
person
friends,
is about. Yeah.
But like when it is a completely new person as an adult, it's like, so where are we meeting at? Like,
where are you on the crazy spectrum? Yeah. Like neutral, not crazy at all, or like fucking bad shit. Yeah.
And I feel like we've both as adults had a lot of experience with like trying to make girlfriends like as adults, and we've both experienced it ourselves, but also seen each other meet someone and be like, we're both just always see the best in people. We're also people pleasers. We're also very nurturing and giving. And now I feel like we're able to sit back and be like, oh, we learned from that one girl that was a red flag, and now we're seeing it again.
Yeah. Whenever I was fresh in my 20s, I just took on literally any friend who wanted to be my friend. I've always been that type of person, just like, you want to be my friend? Like, come on, let's go. Let's party. But I think that really started to bite me in the ass, because me and people were not aligned and people didn't have the best intentions sometimes. And now I'm the polar opposite where I really have to sit back and assess. And like, you can say one thing out of line and I'll be like, gotta go. Like red flags going off everywhere. Yeah. And I feel like I've reached the point. Obviously there's probably going to be someone in the future that I meet and I think we're aligned, but we're not. But I feel like now I'm just so much more cautious.
Yeah, like we can filter it better.
Yes. Yeah, we know what to look out for. So I feel like that is one of my first things is just if I sense any weirdness, like any weird comment, I don't give people the benefit of the doubt anymore because that's something I used to do so much. Like, oh, I know she didn't mean it like that. Or like,
yeah. Well, I think we both used to see it as like, well, I wouldn't have done that. And it's not like all these people are just malicious and bad people and like everyone else but us is horrible. But like, it's just things that don't align.
People are just projecting their own shit all the time.
Yeah, like we all come with our stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, if I hear like any sort of just like comment about anything that I'm like, that's a weird thing to say. like, why would you say that? For example, I'll just use like this little example. I met a girl over the weekend and she was like, your hair is orange and blonde. And I was like, okay. But it was just in the way that she said it. It was just like, why would you say that? You know, what was the actual purpose behind that? Are you trying to put me down? Are you trying to just be like, that's an interesting hair color? Because she wasn't saying it as a compliment.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part of like red flags and like the growth that we both had is like after experiencing bad friendships, we then can afterwards recognize what the red flags were like in hindsight. But now it's also like raising our standards of like, we don't want friends who make us feel a type of way. We don't want friends who you're having to wonder like, what was your intention? Like, I want a friend who I know is there for me, has the best intentions for me, would never mean to hurt me. And like, of course, there's times where like me and you have said something and it's like, wait, that's not how I meant it, or like, don't take it this way. And like, that happens. But like, I know through and through, like, you would never try to offend me. But then it's like, if you're questioning that, then that
especially off the bat too, whenever someone is really trying to put their best first impression, best foot forward, and you're already getting those signals, that's like, alarm bells are going off and they're already kind of saying things that are less than super nice to you. It's like, whoa. Yeah. Okay, let's reel it back in. Because obviously when you're friends, like you let your guard down a lot and you might say something that offends your friend unknowingly. And of course that's going to happen. That's going to happen with your parents, with your partner, with anyone in your life. But definitely when it's from someone you're trying to form a connection with off the bat, it's a little bit like something to be noted.
Yeah. And to add to that, I feel like if anything comes from like a threatened or competitive energy, like I'm a competitive person, but I would never want to put somebody down to make myself feel better. And like we had that situation where we met like a friend of a friend and we all went out and I felt like this girl was like directly competing with you. And I felt like she was trying to make a point to make sure that we knew how cool she was. And it's like, we can all be cool. Like in like, for me to see her acting that way with you, I was kind of like, ew, like y'all can both shine. Like
that's the thing.
It was weird.
I feel like, and I feel like a lot of women struggle to let other women shine without being threatened by it. Yeah. And it's like, that's so hard for me because I'm gonna motherfucking shine. Okay, one thing about it.
Nothing can dull my sparkle.
And that's on period. But it's like I can sense it immediately. And it's so hard for me to come to terms with because it's like I'm not perfect, but that's one thing I would never do. Like I want my friends to be the absolute best that they can be. Like it's so inspiring to me when I see my friend in their moment and their thing, like going off or just being the like,
yeah, like you should be happy for your friends.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But I think for some reason, I'm sure it has something to do with patriarchy or misogyny or
I mean, there's
something.
I think we're taught that like there's only room for so many of us.
Yeah, and it comes from a scarcity mindset. Yeah. Like, oh, this person is doing so good, like I must be shit. And it's like, no, it's
like we can both.
Yeah, you're your own flower. Bloom over there. I'll bloom over here, and we'll just hype each other up. It's fine.
Yeah, and I think like just to add to that one, it's like somebody who even jokingly tries to put you down as a sense of humor to make themselves seem better. And like I feel like I had a friend who told me like she went out on like with a group of guys and her friend kept making jokes and like putting her down and she was like the butt of all the jokes and like I don't know, like I'm very sensitive and like I'm not like a teasing kind of person. Like I don't want to tease where like it's mean. Like I don't think that's funny.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if somebody makes you the butt of their jokes in front of, especially if it's like under certain circumstances, that's a red flag. It's like, oh, like you only feel good and confident because you're putting me down. Like,
it's icky. It's very pick me, especially if it's in front of
Blaze
guys. But I feel like you can always, like energy doesn't lie, and you know when it's kind of to try to put you down or put you, and that's just moral of the story. Only be with people, or only be around people who lift you up,
make you feel good.
Yeah. You can just feel the energy. I had an ex-best friend once who this is kind of a crazy story, but I knew this guy was a fuckboy, right? So I paid a girl to message him, like this hot girl on Instagram. I paid this girl to message him on Instagram. And me and her were kind of friends with him and all of his friend group. So his friend group came over, and immediately as soon as they came over, she was like, oh my God, Shania paid this girl to message what's his face. And I was like, okay, like, that's kind of a secret for a reason, but like it was just like immediate. Like, why are you saying that?
Yeah, it's almost like you using your story as the drama.
Yes, yeah.
It's like you're not like the entertainment piece. Like
no, and it's like, what is your intentions? Behind that?
Because that's like to get everyone to be like, what? Ew.
She's crazy. Like it's just I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, it's a break of trust for sure.
We feel like we both are a target for this, but when somebody becomes your friend in their moment of crisis.
Oh yeah.
Like it happens. Everyone goes through their shit.
Of course.
But I think the biggest one for me is if somebody is clinging to you and like love bombs you and comes onto like the friendship full speed in their moment of crisis, and it's somebody you're just now meeting, it's like, why, if you're in this crisis, like let's say you went through a breakup or you lost your job or you're looking for a place to live and we just became friends, why am I the go-to person that you feel comfortable coming to in your place of need when we've just met? Like that would be, which it wasn't at the time because I did it all and catered to them. But I feel like if I were in a moment like that, I have you as my best friend. But like if I had just met someone, I wouldn't be going to them being like, hey, like I need a place to live. Like I get it, shit happens and like people need help and like should feel comfortable asking for help. But like it, hopefully they have somebody closer to them.
Yeah, it's giving manic.
Yeah.
It's giving very manic. And even before we became friends, you would have leaned on your parents and you would have leaned on your husband.
Yeah.
And you would have leaned on all of these closer people in your life. But I feel like, I don't know, it's just, it gives me a manic vibe. And I think people like that are often in a cycle of just like these, everything is like this major thing and they're constantly always like needing you. And it's almost like they thrive off of the drama and the chaos. Yes. Which is not fair to anyone around them because they have to keep trying to bring them up out of that. And it's almost like an attention thing to me, honestly.
Yeah. And I feel like if you're not that close with them, but you're the closest person that they can come to for help, that's a red flag. It's like, why am I, as somebody who's not even that close with you, your go-to? And that shows me like you don't have other people to rely on. And like, why is that? You know?
Yeah, because you've probably she's in that, or they are in that cycle where they've probably done that to the people closest to them a lot. Yeah. So you're the newest kind of person that's come along. And
and I think that's been hard for both of us because we both had to kind of recognize like as super giving people, we need to just be aware of like under what circumstances are we giving, who are we giving to? Like we can help each other out all day long because we have that level of friendship now. But it's like when you're meeting someone day one and the next day you're helping them get a job, helping them find a house and helping them with their kids or giving them money or like whatever, it's kind of like, wait a minute, we just met.
Yeah, I started being friends with a girl once who was going through like a breakup and she was with a guy for 3 years and don't get me wrong, I still love this girl. I still think she's an amazing person, but I think like her life was just under so much transformation, and it was almost like every time we hung out, it was like just that was like the thing we were talking about, and it was like me almost being her therapist, and like it's hard to start your relationship off like that
because it's super one-sided.
Yeah, it's super one-sided. And at the time, of course, I'm just like, you know, she's going through this and I want to be there for her. And it sucks that we started our friendship right now, but like I want to be there for her through that. But it just kind of like all consumed our relationship for 2 months. And we ended up not being like super close for different reasons. But I think it's hard to start your relationship off like that too, because it's like, okay, so
because you don't really get to build a foundation of like give and take. It's very much like we're in at the deep end, I'm helping you, and now we're friends, and it's like that's not really fair for one other person.
And I think there's a level to it. Of course you can come and bring your problems to a new person in your life, but if it's one of those things where it's just you can feel it, where it's just like this is life or death, and I'm like in the trenches type of thing. You know what I mean? And I think it's that type of super like desperate energy.
Yeah. And I'm also like, maybe this is just me being judgmental, but I also feel like I wouldn't be comfortable taking from someone that I didn't know that well. Like I get it, people are in binds, but like for you to be so comfortable to come and take from me when we're not even that close, I'm kind of like, oh, like you had no problem just living on my couch, eating my food, driving my car. And it's like, but why was that so easy for you just to take? Like, I would feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, even with you, so like, I would hate it. And like, it's really hard for me to ask for help. So like, maybe that's a big part of it. But it's just like, why is it so easy for you to take from me when we just met?
Especially, when we just met, when you're in that stage of just getting to know each other and stuff like that, I would feel so uncomfortable just dumping on someone else, whether that be emotionally or actually asking for physical things that they need to be met and stuff like that. That would be so weird.
Yeah.
And I feel like that brings me to kind of my other red flag, which is people who don't ask about how you're doing, and it's constantly just kind of like them the whole time. And I feel like that's a common theme in my life because I don't love to talk about myself. So it means a lot to me when someone really is like, okay, well, how are you doing here? And they kind of bring me into the conversation. I'm like, oh, you do care. But
yeah, it's the intention.
Yes. Like, how are you doing? Just, I mean, I feel like that's so basic.
Yeah.
But it's crazy how many people that have came into my life that haven't.
Yeah, and I think that social media plays a big part of it because as people who share a lot of what we do on social media, I think there's people who just assume like, oh, well, you're obviously doing well. Like I saw that you went to the gym this morning. I saw that you did this. And it's like, I think it's just having that awareness of we're not going to put ourselves crying on, I mean, sometimes, but it's like social media isn't real.
No.
And it's like, yeah, I can show that I did this and that and have these accomplishments or whatever on social media. But like as a real person and a real friend, like it's still your responsibility to care and to be like, hey, like, how are you doing? You know?
Yeah. What'd you have for breakfast? Like just anything, just showing an interest in anything on a human level that's going on in your life.
I think the thing that hurts me the most with situations like that, hurts my feelings, is like you just assumed I'm doing fine. So then you didn't bother asking, but then you're coming to me and like you said, like it's not double-sided. Like it's very much like, what are your problems? And then they're just like, oh, but you're fine. Like you're doing fine. And like, I just remember I had a friend who would always be like, she would check in with me, but it was never a real check-in. It was always like, hey, like, hope you're doing well. You obviously are. I've seen it on social media. And I'm just like, maybe I'm not though.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's
check in. Like what kind of question is that?
Yeah. It's the intention to hype you up.
Yeah.
But it's very naive to think that it just dehumanizes you.
It's kind of dismissive because it's kind of like, well, you're obviously doing fine.
Yeah. It's
and it's like, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost giving jealousy a little bit because it's like, why else would you not want to talk about me or know what's actually going on? And it's like, if you think that my greatest moments, my highlight reel is actually who I am as a person, that's just, it's naive.
Yeah. It's like, it's just like, care a little bit more than social media, please.
Yeah. Like, let's be real here. Do you show what's actually going on in your life on social media? No. Yeah. Even as an influencer, there's There's no actual way to show everything, especially when it's happening in real time.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, and real emotions that you're having. It's just Instagram, social media in general, most of it is fake. So
yeah, and it's slim pickings of like what's actually going on. So it's like
curated.
The real ones will actually be like, okay, but how are you? Or like, how did that go? Or whatever. A big one for me is when you meet someone or even just a friend in general, and they're comfortably talking shit about their other friends.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, these are your friends, and I'm in that category of like, I'm also your friend. So like, are you just talking shit about me? And it's like, it's one thing if you're having a pickle or you're having a tiff and they're talking about it, but it's the people who like will talk shit about their friends and about who they are as people and about like their character.
Yeah.
But then they're not doing anything to distance themselves. And like when we talked about this before, like you said, like we kind of started our friendship where you were in a position where you were having a problem with your friends at the time.
I was talking so much fucking shit about my friends.
But then you took action and like,
oh yeah, I was trying to get the fuck out of there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I feel like that's different. It's like, but if you're just going to continuously talk shit about your friends and then continue to be friends with them, I'm like,
that's fake.
But you don't even like them.
Yeah.
And then I start to think like, well, what do you think about me? Like, are you just talking shit about me to them?
Yeah. It says something about who you are, because why would you continue to hang out with people
if you have so much shit to say about them?
If you don't think they're good people,
or
if you like don't see the best in them, or all these other things. And obviously, like you said, like sometimes people can just get on your nerves, or like something like that. But to really come after someone's character, and also to like for that to be a major consistent thing you're talking,
and like a talking point,
like constantly, definitely big red flags.
And I think it's also just like that level of respect. Like, you'll never catch me talking bad about you to like any of my friends. Like, if we were going through something, I would talk to my husband who knows you. Yeah. And like, I don't have other friends, but
you only need me anyway.
Yeah. But I would never want to give somebody else a bad impression of my best friend either, because
of course
you are my best friend. And like, I don't want them to think like, oh, well, she's friends with her, but she sucks. And it's like, why? Like, and it's kind of the same thing with like your partner. Like, I don't want to talk about my partner to like people at a networking event. Like, I'll talk to you because you know him in person and you can objectively look at the situation.
You can go to people that you have that level of trust in that can give you actual advice if it's something, you know, because relationships are complicated and they're messy and they're sticky. But if it's one thing where you're just blatantly like, oh, I hate when this bitch does this, like blah, 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 blah.
And you're also creating like an impression of them. Like, you know my husband and you know what he's like. But if I'm talking about him to some random person who's never met him, that's all they know about him.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, that sucks. Like, that's not fair to him when it's like, I'm continuing to be married to him. And it's like, well, she clearly doesn't hate him that much.
Yeah, no, I get that completely. I feel like I've never really had someone come into my life who did that.
Yeah, I did. And I was kind of like, it was a girl recently, and like she had two really, what appeared from the outside appeared to be her two closest friends. And she kind of hit all the marks. She came into me in a time of crisis, and in that time of crisis she came to me and then was repeatedly talking shit about her two other best friends, which I was kind of like, well, why aren't they helping you out if they're like your two best friends? But then she had all this shit to say about them, and I'm just like, oh, so like, you obviously don't like these people, like you should distance yourself from them. But then carried on being best friends with them. And I'm like, I would hate to think that you had so much bad stuff to say about me, but then carried on like we were just great. And I'm like, that would suck.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes people use it as a way to get closer to other people too.
And again, that takes us back to like putting other people down to be like better.
Yeah.
It's so gross though.
But it can be a little manipulative too, I think, because they're trying to be like, oh, you're so great, like these other people suck.
Yeah, it's like
type
love
of
bombing.
Thing. Yeah, it is kind of love bombing in a way. Like, you're the only one I can rely on because everyone else is just shit.
Yeah. Ew.
Well, yeah.
Don't like it.
Don't like that either. Okay, so one major thing for me is boy craziness. I can't ever relate to giving that much of a fuck about a boy. Like,
they're just boys,
and attention from them is not hard to get. Like, it's really not. Like,
men are simple.
We do not have to be obsessed about this. Like, I don't want to talk about it all the time. I don't want that to be like our goal of every day.
Yeah, like the MO.
Like, look who messaged me. What should I reply to this guy? Like, look who's in my DMs. Like, when we go out, like, fighting for boys' attention, just anything like that is just, I probably think that's probably one of my major, like my biggest put-offs ever, is I'm like, oh, to give men that much control over me.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. I cannot.
And I think it's just like, it's very surface level because it's like you're finding validation in something else. And it's like, I think it's just meeting people who hold themselves in a higher regard. And it's like, I mean, attention is nice and like,
of course.
But I think it's one of those where like, you got to have a little, I don't want to say like they have to have more substance to you because like that's really mean, but it is just having things that matter to you more.
Yeah, of course. And it does just tell me that you don't think of yourself highly enough. Do you know what I mean? Because you need
that validation.
That validation constantly. And I know that when it comes down to it, you would put me down for that validation, or you would like do weird things for that validation. Yeah. Which I've seen play out so many times, which is also why it just, it's not my favorite. I love boys. I love a good peen, but I don't know. I just don't think it's that interesting of a topic to talk about consistently. I'll bring it up for sure. Like we can talk about boys, like let's go, but all the time. And you know what I mean? When someone's so consumed by boys.
And it's like every day-to-day activity is like, that's being the focus of like, well, did I get this attention? Did I get this look? Did I get their number? Like,
I had a friend and it was when I was single, and like every guy that came up to us, like she had to be the one getting attention from that guy. And I'm not even the type of person that really cares, but it was just like I would feel the energy of her being like, no, like this is, I control the situation right now. And it would just put me off so much. I was like, why?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the same about that girl I was mentioning, like where I felt like she was almost competing with you for like the energy in the room, and like she just kept making a point to be like, well, he was looking at me, or like, oh well, guys love this about me, and it's like, that's great, but like I'd love to know like what you do in your free time. Like,
what do you love about you, babe?
Yeah. Like I want to know, like that's great, but like I want to know more about you than that. And it just gave very like competitive, and it was like, it's okay that you both can be really beautiful and the guys can look at you both, and like that's great, but like you alone without the men are great.
100%. It can be all consuming, I think, for some people, and I do feel bad because I'm sure that's not a nice feeling for them too, to like feel kind of empty, that they need to like have their validation be from boys.
And it's like you said, like we really don't need to be giving the boys that much credit. Like,
no. Oh gosh, no.
It's kind of along those same lines though, like a red flag with a friend who wants to humble you, or like be the person who grounds you and like gives you the reality check. And I'm just like, I don't need that. Like, let me be a dreamer. Let me, and like, I don't know. I just feel like it's very, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's not jealous, but it's like, why do you need to put me and my aspirations down?
Yeah, like you were saying, if you went to someone and you were like, oh, I really want to move here, it would give me such great opportunities, and then they were like, well, you really shouldn't do that because you have this going on and it's more responsible to stay here. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, like the friend, I remember like the exact conversation I had with an old friend was like, oh, I want to move to LA. Like, we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to make plans. And she was like, are you sure? Like, that's a good idea. Like, you have debt, you have this other stuff. And like wanted to like give me the reality check. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm like, and like, it's, for one, it almost feels patronizing because I'm like, do you not think that I am aware of my own circumstances and that I haven't like considered that? Like, I wasn't just going to up and leave.
Yeah.
But then to also, I remember she even said like, oh, I just want to be, like the devil's advocate, or like, be realistic. And it's like, thanks, but like, I don't need you to do that for me. Like, you can just cheer me on. Like,
and I was telling you this too. It's one thing to say that to someone who is acting mad constantly. You know what I mean? Someone who is just bound, like if your friend comes to you and they're like, I want to do this other mad thing, and they have like just made 10 wild decisions that might not have worked out in their favor. Yeah. And things are kind of like not going well for them. It's one thing to say like, hey, okay, like let's consider, like I support you, but maybe we go this route instead. Because I could see my best friend doing that to me, Dylan. But you are so calculated and you are so like on your stuff. So I feel like for someone to say that to you, I'm like, that's really weird.
Yeah, I feel like I don't need my friend to give me like blind support. Like, I'm not saying like if I'm about to jump off a cliff, be like, you can do it.
Yeah.
But don't like try to like downplay my dreams and like my goals. Like, if I'm saying I want to work towards something, like cheer me on, be supportive. Like, don't try to like bring it back to reality and think small. And like, I think that was the biggest thing, was like, I realized like we were just very different people, and like I'm a big dreamer and I want to be surrounded by people who think big and have aspire to do big things. And it's like, if you're the friend that's immediately like, oh, well, that's really hard. And it's like, well, I can do hard things. Like, why are you doubting me? You know?
Yeah, it does feel like doubt. It's like, okay, so you don't believe in me.
And I know it's a projection, but it is kind of like, excuse me, like, let me be, like, don't put your insecurities on me and my big dreams.
Yeah, exactly. Keep that energy over there. Like, if you want to play safe in your life, more power to you. Yeah. It's all a freaking, what is this? We're in the Matrix anyways. It doesn't matter. But like, I'm personally trying to like beat the levels over here. Okay. Yeah. So cheer me on, you know, what does it matter? Yeah. Yeah. That I feel like I haven't dealt with that too much, but there has been some things I've been like, excuse me. No, ma'am.
Yeah. And I personally like truly feel that we can, as individuals, like accomplish absolutely anything if we're willing to put in the work and like all of that. And like, I don't want people around me who are trying to like be realistic and be practical. It's like, I can do anything.
Yeah.
And like, if you don't believe in me, then like, get out of my way.
Yeah, no. And I think it does come back. I feel like a lot of our points come back to almost like that competition kind of mindset. Because like, why don't you believe in me? Yeah. Why don't you think I can? You know, and like you said, it's just projection. Yeah. Where they don't think that they could do something like that. So then they think no one else can either. Yeah. Yeah.
And everyone has their own self-beliefs and all of that. But I think it's having that self-awareness of like, okay, you are projecting. Like, if you don't think you can do that, that's fine. But like, you can support me or like whatever. But I think it just all kind of comes down to like surrounding yourself with people who are a positive force in your life and a positive energy. Yes. And that are just constantly cheering you on and making you feel good. I think all of these things that we've said are just things that like, they don't make you feel good. And it's like, why would you be with somebody who doesn't make you feel good?
Yeah, that's such a good point. All of the things we said have kind of just come back around to like, okay, this energy is not making me feel good. And it's not, I hate to feel like we're like talking shit. Yeah. But
haters.
Fucking haters. Like, people do this, and this wrong.
And we're perfect.
No, but I'm sure someone's like felt this way about us at some point too, you know, like, and we know that we don't move maliciously. And I know half the people that I've like clocked weird things on or had red flags about, it's all projection. It's not necessarily them being malicious or them out to get me or anything like that. They've just maybe gone through things in their life, like from our last example, where they feel like they can't do hard things, or like they've had a major failure, and it's put them in that mindset to like play it safe, be smart. And so then it comes off on you.
And I think it's just being self-aware. And then like we obviously have like these definitive like things we've seen or experienced, but that's made us more aware of like, oh, I would never want to make someone else feel that way now. And so like, you know, we're sure to be supportive. We're sure to like not be competitive and stuff like that, because we've already been on the other end of it.
Yeah, definitely. My next one is major red flag for me is borrowing to the point of stealing, because that has been a common theme in relationships of mine. And honestly, a lot of it is my fault, because I am just like, use whatever.
But it's not, because I feel like people should ask in the first place.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I think I want people to borrow my things. Like, I love that sisterhood. I love having people like experience like my nice things that I buy, and I'm like, yes, please, like, taking everything shower with all of my stuff, wear my shit out to the club, like, here's some perfume, like, you know what I mean? I love that bonding and sisterhood. But when it comes to the point of entitlement over it is where I'm like,
yeah, where they treat it like it's their own now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not asking.
Or like, she won't mind.
Yeah, the not asking and the not returning it properly, or in it, like, it's just the respect part of it where it's like, I just don't like that. I don't like that. I don't know if it's like some deep down thing about me being very like close to my things, but like I want to share my things and I want you to also be grateful for it and respect it, and then vice versa. Like, I would love to use your stuff, but of course, like, I want to be as respectful as possible about all of that and take care of it, you know?
Yeah, and I think you've specifically had circumstances where somebody will ask once to borrow something, and then they just kind of help themselves the next time, and then all of a sudden it's theirs, and then you're kind of in this awkward situation where it's like, oh, can I have that back? And like, you shouldn't have to ask for your own stuff back. Like, it's yours. And I feel like, sure, like, you could speak up, but like, you shouldn't even be put in that position in the first place to have to retrieve your own things. And I feel like me and you are like complete opposites in that way, because like, I'm the younger sibling and I only have a brother, so I've never had to share my stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just not like a very I'm not a very sharing person. I'm very giving, but I'm like, and so I don't like to share. Like, I'm also very like germaphobe. So I feel like when it's like makeup and stuff, I'm like, don't want to share some of that. And I've just never really had to share with anyone. Like, I've always been the younger girl and I've had my own stuff. And so I feel like I'm really mindful of asking people like, oh, could I borrow this, or could I borrow this?
Yeah, I feel like you never ask to borrow anything from me.
Like, I just
Honestly.
take it?
No, you don't do that either.
I don't like asking in general for things. Like, I feel like I'm taking, and then I also make a point to like repay, where it's like, if I eat your last banana, like, I'm buying you more bananas.
Oh my God, the drama.
But do you ever notice, like, I'll ask like, oh, can I borrow this Q-tip? And it's like, I never want to be like, I'm having one. It's like,
oh, I can be a little bit like that. I'm like,
but it's like,
here's
something.
the toothpicks, here's the floss, like, here's the Q-tips. Yeah, like, you asked to use, I think last time you were over, you asked to use my toothpaste, and I was like, shut up. You don't take some.
I was like, can I borrow just like a little bit? Like,
it's like, get real. I use your toothpaste every time you come over.
I don't know. I'm just like, I feel like I've never had to share. And like, I think I told you, just like with the coffee thing, how like you used to always just come and take a sip of my coffee.
Oh yeah.
And at first I was kind of like, that's mine.
Stop drinking my
And
coffee.
like, she just helped herself.
Yeah. Every time Val would get coffees when I lived in LA, I would always just like grab it and take a sip. And I wasn't, don't get me wrong, I wasn't like chugging her coffee. I was literally taking like 2 sips
like,
of her
it's not
coffee.
like yours now. Yeah. But I've just never had to share, because I was kind of like, excuse me. I'm also very protective of my coffee.
Yeah, it's giving addict.
Yeah, it's the coffee specifically. It's not, take anything else.
You were like, that was going to give me like a point.
I needed that
2%
sip
of a caffeine high, okay?
Literally. Like, but now I'm going to be low on energy.
Yeah, I've definitely had a lot of people, and I think it is one of those things where they do see how giving I am and how I do want, because I genuinely do want to give in that way. Like, it's fun for me, but it's not fun when it doesn't get treated properly, or like I don't get my stuff back.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
And it is awkward when you have to then turn around and be like, okay, well, you can't borrow this anymore. It's like, we're adults. You shouldn't have to be like, okay, can I have my stuff back?
Yeah, and there's a level to it. Like, if it's, here, there, like, it's equal. We're both kind of borrowing.
Yeah.
But if it's just like every single day, like, can I wear this? Can I wear this? Can I wear this? Can I wear this? And I'm over here wearing my stuff every day. It's like, girl, if you don't go shopping, right now, let's go to Ross. Come on.
Yeah. Let's go, bitch.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I feel like that's pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Anymore?
Now that everyone knows we're haters.
No, I mean, this was kind of a negative
it was.
topic anyways.
But it's, yes, it does feel negative, but I do feel like we've grown so much, and like we're able to filter people and like find alignment better now. Like, when we meet someone, we're able to like see much quicker, like, oh, like they aren't going to make me feel really good, or like, oh, this person is, going to make me feel really good, and like I'd love to spend more time with them because they didn't have these things or whatever. Yeah. So I feel like as two people who are super people pleasing, super giving, like we've been able to like filter it a lot better and not just get taken advantage of, but also not like start a friendship and be like, oh, this doesn't feel good.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if you can nip it in the bud quick, then you save yourself all of that heartbreak that'll come from, you know, getting super close in a sisterhood with someone and then having to call it off later because it's getting toxic or whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's really important to be able to notice the things that are gonna like manifest. So all in all, hang out with people who are healed and self-aware.
Yeah.
At least to a certain level that it's not gonna negatively affect you.
Yeah. And not that any of these people who have done these things and are like have malicious intent or are bad people. And like we, of course, have our own flaws. And I'm sure we have had our own negative effects on people who aren't aligned with us as well.
Definitely.
But I think it's just being able to recognize like how you want to be treated, and then finding people who make you feel that way and have that same level of like mutual respect as a friend.
Yeah, of course. Because I mean, I think the people that you surround yourself with are just, it's so important. I feel like it's one of the most important things in life in general.
Yeah, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with.
It's so true. So who do you want to be like? And it's not just like success or anything like that. Of course that plays a part. It's character. Yeah, I want people who keep me in line and don't lead me down a bad path or anything like that. So
you are who you hang out with.
Yes. That's right, babies. Thanks for listening to the Hot Girls Cry podcast.
If you've enjoyed this episode, show some love and support with a rating and review.
Or keep the conversation going over on our socials. TTYL!